It's a brand new season of the Politicrat Daily podcast. For conversation, information, and revelation, join me, Omar Moore, every day for a brand new edition of the Politicrat Daily podcast. Politics, news, issues you care about, guests, and commentary, all on the Politicrat Daily podcast. So please join me for every new episode. Subscribe now. And thank you very much for your support. Welcome to the Politicrat. I'm Omar Moore. It is Tuesday, January the 19th, 2021. On this edition of the Politicrat, a conversation with the mayor of Savannah, Georgia, Van Johnson. We'll be talking about the city of Savannah, Georgia, about the state of Georgia, about coronavirus, and about the upcoming inauguration tomorrow of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. All of that, plus my thoughts on Donald Trump out the door in less than 24 hours. Good riddance. That, but the mayor of Savannah, Georgia first. He's coming up right after this. With me on the Politicrat Daily podcast is Mayor Van Johnson. He is the mayor of Savannah, Georgia. It's an honor to have you on. Thank you for your time, and thank you and welcome to the Politicrat Daily podcast, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you so much, and we appreciate the opportunity of being with you this morning.
Well, I really am honored by your presence, sir, and it's wonderful to have you here. I would love to begin by asking you about Georgia, about Savannah in particular, sir. In terms of the city, for those who aren't aware of Savannah, Georgia, and where it's located, could you please spend a few moments talking about your city? And also, I wanted to follow up by asking you about what's going on with the preparations around coronavirus and how that's going as well, if you don't mind.
Sure. Well, first of all, everybody should know about Savannah, Georgia. Savannah, Georgia is the first city in the 13th colony of these United States. We are the first city in Georgia. We're the first capital in Georgia. We were formed on the same day as the state of Georgia. We are strategically and conveniently located right off of the I-95 corridor that runs from Miami to Maine. We are about, for proximity's sake, about 5 minutes from the low country of South Carolina, about 45 minutes from Hilton Head to the north, about 2 hours from Jacksonville to the south, about 2 hours from Columbia, from Charleston to our north. Columbia is about 2.5 hours to our north. Atlanta is about 3.5 to 4 hours to our northwest. So we're right off of the water. We are the largest city on Georgia's coast. We are a city that revels in our history. We are the city that General Sherman gave to as a gift. We are the city of the civil rights movement. We are a city of various history. We are a city of first. We have the oldest African-American congregation in the North America, which is the First African Baptist Church, is here. The third oldest Jewish synagogue, Temple of Mikveh Israel, is here. We are the home of Johnny Mercer. We're the home of the birth home of Julie Gordon Lowe, who founded the Girl Scouts. We're the home of the movies Glory and Forrest Gump, Gemini Man, The Legend of Bagger Vance, The General's Daughter, The Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil, SpongeBob and Mad Max. And so we are a city that has the second busiest port on the East Coast. We're a city that is a home of the oldest African-American public institution in Georgia, Savannah State University. We're the home of the largest art school in America, the Savannah College of Art and Design. We are the home of the 3rd Infantry Division of our military. I can go on and on and on. We are the home of Paula Deen. We're the home of some of the best food you have ever tasted, and certainly some of the best weather you will ever see. We're a pretty special place.
That's really great, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. And I have to go and visit, first of all, and so do,
Please.
I'm sure, a lot of people who may not have visited. I'm sure there are a few who haven't, but that's a wonderful way to introduce a fine city. So thank you for doing it the way you did it.
Thank you.
And also, before I continue, congratulations on being named as one of the 100 most influential Georgians as well. That's a nice honor to have as well.
How did you know about that?
I got to tell you, well, your leadership for one, but number two, you have it proudly displayed on, and I believe on one of your Twitter accounts, I believe, or the official Twitter account,
okay.
As well.
Yes, I am. It's an honor, not for me personally, as much as it is that it heightens the level of Savannah. For us, it's important that Savannah matters. In Georgia, it's always been this dichotomy that existed that if you did not live within the I-285 belt line, which is really Metro Atlanta, that you did not matter. For us, we believe that the coast matters, Savannah matters, and so the fact that I'm influential in Georgia means that Savannah is influential in Georgia, and that's important to me.
Wonderful. And of course, as well, your father had also been mayor, if I'm not mistaken, for 3 terms. Is that correct? In the same city? Or am I completely getting that wrong?
Yeah. His name is Otis Johnson.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Dr. Johnson. It's fine. He was our 64th mayor. He's not my father, but I'm sure, we have the same last name. So it's probable that we're related somewhere down the road. But no, he was one of my mentors. I consider him a great friend and ally. We got elected to council at the same time in 2004. And so I served with him for 2 years. He was 2 terms. He was the mayor for 8 years. We're term limited here at 2 terms. And now he's helping me on a couple of task force we're doing here. So, no, but thank you for mentioning him.
All right, then I'm sorry about that. I really do apologize. Oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed.
You're the father.
Okay, the thing, and being from Brooklyn, New York, I mean, how do you, your city, Brooklyn, New York, is a city that's also one of the very big ones in America, as well as Savannah is. It must be quite something, being from Brooklyn itself and being the mayor of Savannah. Do you get to go back to Brooklyn at all? I mean, you must be very busy, but do you get to travel there? I'm just curious.
I do. My mother, my father, my siblings, my family, my entire nuclear family are still there. My nieces and nephews. So Brooklyn is home for me as well. And so I go as often as I can. Obviously, I could not go as much last year because of COVID. But I remain and maintain close relationships with Brooklyn.
Right. Let me ask you a bit more now about what's happening here. Obviously, we have a pandemic that has touched the lives of so many millions of people around the world, around the country, and around Georgia, and obviously has affected the city of Savannah. Can you talk about what's been going on in terms of plans in Savannah, particularly for vaccination and anything else that you might like to share with the audience, please?
Sure. Well, obviously, I'm very dissatisfied at how Georgia has rolled out its vaccines. I think that Georgia could do better. We have not, in so many ways. We were the last to close. We were the first to open. Georgia still at this date does not have a statewide mask mandate, despite the fact that the All of the science points to wearing a mask. Our governor refuses to mandate masks, although he strongly recommends masks. Savannah has the first mask mandate in Georgia. We maintain that to this day. However, the governor says that private businesses can decide for themselves whether they want to have masks or not. Essentially, what happened with the rollout of the vaccine, we knew that we were going to get the vaccine one day. And essentially what has occurred is that it has been overwhelming. We have more people that want it than we have people to administer it. And some type of supply chain problem that the state needs to fix. And so right now we have a lot of people who want the vaccines and not able to get them. They basically crashed our infrastructure, so we had to put a pause on it at least for a month or so. So it's been extremely challenging for us. We can do better. I've offered whatever help we can do. The city we're not over public health. But I said, if I need to get in a van and drive vaccines over myself, if I have to learn how to give vaccines in order to give them, if you need to use our first responders, whatever we need to do to be a help, this is a critical issue of the day of getting needles in arms, and we need to help make that happen. So although I'm dissatisfied to this point about our rollout from a state level, I'm committed to doing what I can to help make it better.
That's really great. And I remember you were one of the foremost leaders out front about all of this when the pandemic was just really taking hold. And I really do appreciate that you did come out very clearly and issue that mask mandate. A lot of people followed thereafter, and you were one of the earliest mayors to do so in the state. So it's really heartening to know that you are still keeping the governor's feet to the fire, because he has not done what he should be doing. And I think the state would, quite frankly, be a lot better off right now had he done something and done it a lot earlier.
Absolutely. And I mean, my goal here is not to be able to point fingers. I mean, obviously, this is all very difficult. We none of us are playing by any rules that we have experienced before. So, I mean, I recognize that and that tremendous job that he has in front of him. That being said, there is science, which is why here in Savannah, we've said that we're going to keep the faith and follow the science. I mean, I'm not a scientist, but we can do what the scientists say to do. And so the fact that the governor has willfully not followed the science in this matter. I mean, at one point, the White House was even saying, wear a mask, wear a mask. The White House was saying this. And yet the governor still said, he was not going to do it. So, I mean, this is the very difficult work and things that are before us. And, I don't know how to handle that, but it is what it is. I think, at this point, we just have to make it better.
Absolutely. A couple more questions
Sure.
to ask you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you again. One of them is about the state overall. Now, we've seen a lot of things happen these last 2-3 months. Joe Biden won the state of Georgia, and also, of course, just a week or two ago. Say
that again.
I was just saying that Joe
Biden won the state of Georgia, right?
Yes.
That means we turned it light blue, right?
Yes.
And then something else happened, right?
It certainly did.
And what was that?
What was that? We had two Democrats winning the senator races, Ossoff and Reverend Warnock, both winning.
Which meant that we were all the way blue then, right?
That's right.
Wow. Look at God. I'm sorry.
No, that was great. No, that was really great. That's where we are. And of course it was done also, in addition, with the hard work of a lot of people on the ground. We know about Stacey Abrams' tireless work and LaTosha Brown's tireless work and a number of other organizations and coalitions that made all of this happen. Can you talk about Georgia, as I call it, sweet Georgia blue?
Well, Georgia's on everybody's mind. I think that what has occurred, and I mean, and again, I don't need to be as partisan in this case as I am. The fact of the matter was that Georgia, in a sea of red states, exercise an independent mind. And let's be very, very clear. Joe Biden would not have won Georgia. Raphael Warnock and John Ossoff would not have won Georgia if Republicans and independents and libertarians did not also vote for them. Democrats cannot do that by themselves. The numbers are just not there. But I think, fortunately, what Georgians did that maybe some folks in other states did not do was to look at the totality of our state and look at the totality of our federal government and decide that maybe what we're doing is not working well for us. Maybe we should try something different. And essentially, that's what happened. And I want to give President Biden the same benefit that I gave to President Trump. I mean, honestly, I didn't like the fact that he won, but when he won, he was my president. And I prayed for him to do well, because for me to pray for him not to do well is like for me sitting on a plane and praying that the pilot doesn't do well. If the pilot crashes, we all crash. So it was important to me that our country do well. But I think this environment of divisiveness and this culture of hate and fear mongering and gaslighting, people in Georgia really saw that maybe we have an opportunity to give the other guys an opportunity. And again, if they don't do it, then we have the responsibility to vote them out. But to say that things are going okay the way that they were, and then you look at what happened on the 6th of January, and some of them were from Georgia, which was sedition in its highest forms. It was mob rule, something that has never happened in our country when we were under attack from Americans, tells us and really confirms Georgia's independent position that something needed to change.
You mentioned the final thing that I was going to ask you about, so you anticipated me, Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
about the terrorist attack on January 6th. Do you have any concerns about tomorrow's inauguration? I must be honest with you. On this podcast, Mr. Mayor, I've expressed a lot of worry about tomorrow, security-wise. The story that happened in the Associated Press about defense officials worrying about a possible insider attack. So now all of the FBI is vetting all 25,000 National Guards persons. What are your thoughts on all of this, and how are you feeling about tomorrow as we get ready for an historic inauguration of the Vice President, Kamala Harris, who will become the Vice President, and the former Vice President, Joe Biden, who will become the President? What are your thoughts, please, Mr. Mayor?
Well, I mean, I'm concerned as well, but I am confident that that things will be fine. D.C. is under lockdown. At this moment, I am supposed to be in D.C. for the inauguration. Obviously, I didn't go. It wasn't safe to do so. It wasn't safe to travel. And I had to be more focused on ensuring that our city is okay and safe in all of this. So I think we'll be fine. I think cooler heads will prevail. And I think we will be able to, move along in what our new reality is. I hope that we do. I hope that we don't have, we really don't have any choice at this point. We have to do better than what we've been doing. And if, Dr. King, who would have turned 92 on Friday, said that, that evil prevails when good men say nothing. And so I believe that the good guys outweigh the bad guys. I believe that there are more people on all sides that are more interested in our form of government, our republic, and moving forward. And, I've been heartened to see individuals across the aisle saying, this was wrong. We have to do better. And, as though I've been a critic of Mitch McConnell, I was pleased that, he seemed to have, he's moving towards, moving toward a way that is much more sensible.
Absolutely. And of course, there's a small matter of a Senate impeachment trial that's coming up, I'm sure, in the next few days. Your time is tight. I would love to ask you about that and a lot of other things, Mr. Mayor, but I know that you're very, very busy doing the great work that you do for the citizenry of Savannah, Georgia. It's been an honor, sir. With me has been the mayor of Savannah, Georgia, the 67th mayor, by the way, Mayor Van Johnson. What an honor. Thank you so much, sir, for being here on the Politicrat podcast.
No, thank you. The honor is all mine. And please, if I could ever be on, I would love to do so and appreciate your hospitality.
Thank you very much, sir. And it would be great to have you back. Have a good day. Be safe there, sir. And to all of those in Savannah, Georgia, all the warm wishes and best wishes, too, for this brand new year. And you and your family, too, sir.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Very special thanks once again to the 67th Mayor of Savannah, Georgia, Mayor Van Johnson. Thank you very much for coming on, sir. Really appreciated having the mayor on to talk about Savannah, Georgia, and about Georgia, and of course the outlook now that we are just literally a few hours away from the swearing in of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris amidst extremely tight security at the U.S. Capitol building. Now there's a brand new webpage, especially for this podcast. The Politicrat Daily Podcast can now be found on thepoliticrat.com, a brand new page that centralizes all of the places that you can listen to this podcast, the major platforms, and many others at thepoliticrat.com. Lots of content that you can see there right now and every single day. So subscribe now to the Politicrat Daily Podcast and make sure you visit thepoliticrat.com. Thank you. Welcome back. No honor, no morals, no dignity, no decency, no leadership, no caring, no love, no justice. There are a lot of no's that I could rattle off. Just as Mayor Johnson in the previous segment was speaking about the great things in the city of Savannah, Georgia, the city that he is mayor of. And literally, he really could have gone on for another 20 minutes. I mean, totally. He absolutely spelled out for people who aren't familiar with Savannah. For those of you who have not been or who are not familiar with Savannah, he spelled out a lot of really, a lot of things about the great city that he is the mayor of. I am doing the opposite when it comes to Donald J. Trump, who I hope is soon to be prosecuted and put in handcuffs. In fact, he can be put in handcuffs for so many different reasons. This is a man who has not been accountable. He has not been accountable at any point in his life. He has been impeached twice. In fact, not only just twice, but twice in the space of less than 400 days. This is someone who caused the deaths of now over 400,000 people in the United States of America from coronavirus, due to his lies, due to his lack of response, calculated as it was, obviously, and his continuous deceptions and lies. He was telling Bob Woodward in February of last year, during which time he had just been acquitted of impeachment. 2 days after that, told the truth for a book that he wanted to look good in, while at the same time lying to you, to me, to everyone out there that this virus was somehow not to be concerning, not to worry about it, not to be concerned about. Oh, it's going to go away by April. Here we are now, almost a year later, and this virus has killed over 400,000 people in the United States. So that is what is going on. And I can go down the list of all the things that Donald J. Trump did or didn't do that has contributed to the deaths of so many people in the United States. I can talk about the caging of children, the deaths of children down south of the border in concentration camps. I can talk about the lies that he told about so many different things, over 30,000 lies. I can talk about the bounties that Putin put on the heads of American soldiers, and Donald Trump turned the other way, never once challenged Putin about it, never once talked about it to Vladimir Putin. I can talk about when Donald Trump said things about the military, that they were losers and suckers. These are Americans who fought for their country. Some of them died for their country. I can talk about him endlessly berating people who fought and died for this country, and while they are no longer on this planet, like John McCain and John Dingell. I can talk about how he's disrespected another John named John Lewis. John Lewis, who of course was a congressman in the state of Georgia. I can talk about the way he's been a misogynist pig for the last 50, 60 years of his life, and particularly in the last 4 years, and his misogyny and misogynoir and his racism. I can talk about how he denigrated American cities like Baltimore, for example. I can talk about how he called countries shithole countries, African countries, calling Haiti that as well. Haiti, of course, is not far off of Florida, not that far away. I can talk about how he neglected Puerto Rico, which is known as the 51st state and has American citizens. I can talk about how he disrespected the governor there, how he disrespected the mayor of San Juan. I can talk about how he threw paper towels like he was throwing candy. This is in the middle of a hurricane. He's visiting, there was Hurricane Maria at the time in 2017, and how 3,000 people died, basically because of him and because of his non-action. Supplies were being loaded up and they were just sitting in airport hangars and airport strips when people needed them, bottles of water, food. And instead, he's denigrating the mayor of San Juan. I can talk about when he said of Charlottesville that there were good people on both sides, one side being Nazis and Klan, after a young woman by the name of Heather Heyer had been murdered by some white racist, and that he had to issue at least 3 statements. How many statements does it take to get a simple statement correct about what happened in Charlottesville in 2017? And that you had to put out at least three statements about Charlottesville, Virginia. And then you would then talk about what you really felt when you were at the rallies. And then when you were put in front of a teleprompter, you sounded like you were drunk or on Adderall. I mean, I can go down the list and tell you about these last 4 years. But you really don't want me to traumatize you in that way and add to the trauma that most of you, have been suffering over these last 4 years. Not to mention the coronavirus, as I have talked about, and his refusal, certainly for the most part and still today, to fully apply the Defense Production Act, the DPA, which should have been applied immediately to help people, to save people's lives. Instead, there were PPE shortages, and they still are shortages around the country. You've got doctors and nurses and other frontline healthcare workers really still flying blind. You've got 18.6 tons of PPE equipment that almost a year ago now was shipped to China, while here in the United States, there was still a profound shortage of equipment that would save lives of those who are trying to save lives. People with garbage bags and hefty bags and Jason hockey masks and Halloween masks for protection. Can you imagine being a doctor and that's what you're using? People reusing masks that were 3 days old, 5 days old, because there's no more masks, and they are having to treat patients with coronavirus who are literally dying before their very eyes in these hospitals. And they're using the same mask. And you've had, what now, hundreds of healthcare workers die? And Donald Trump allowed it to happen. I can go on about how he behaved in summit after summit after summit, embarrassed himself, embarrassed the country on the world stage, going to the United Nations and making a speech where the world leaders literally laughed in his face. I can talk about the monstrosity of the Helsinki summit in 2018 when he got on the stage in front of Vladimir Putin and the entire world and said, Mr. Putin is very, very strong about this. And, there's no reason to believe that he's lying about this. And, I trust Mr. Putin on this. And the United States is foolish. We've all been foolish. I can go back to that, and some of you have forgotten about that. That was in 2018 in Helsinki, Finland, where he actually called his own country foolish. Can you imagine? You are a world leader, or supposed to be, and you are supposed to be leading the United States of America, and you are saying that the United States has been foolish. You're saying that out loud in front of an adversary who is also a leader in the world, Vladimir Putin. And you're saying that publicly in front of an entire press corps and the world that is watching you live. And you throw the U.S. intelligence agencies under the bus. You fire everybody. You throw in Johnny-come-latelys who have never had experience in anything, and you call them acting this and acting that. You try to run the White House as a reality TV show, but instead you have a death cult, which you created. You, sir, are a scumbag. You're not even a sir. You're a disgrace. There are so many other things. The racism, the misogyny, as I've said, the indifference, the laziness, played more golf than he ever did work, never worked a day in his life, and did nothing for this country. Nothing. Donald Trump is a national, global disgrace. He committed crimes while he was in office, and he's going to be prosecuted for a lot of those crimes, particularly in the state and city of New York. He has rape allegations that he's facing, E. Jean Carroll, and her attorneys are very strenuously making sure that he faces a strenuous legal battle. And that is the least of what he should be facing. The whole thing with Jeffrey Epstein, he just magically disappeared. He ended his own life. Did he now? You've got Ghislaine Maxwell, or Ghislaine, or whatever you want to call her, whatever her name is. Will she end up the same way that Jeffrey Epstein did? There's so many disgusting things. Filthy, disgusting things. And this guy was a fascist. He was a fascist. He was absolutely marching to the tune of Mussolini and Hitler. He was marching to that drum. This authoritarian, dictatorial figure was clearly marching in that direction. Even the logos for the campaign for 2020 resembled that of the Third Reich insignia. It was not an accident. More terror attacks in this country under his watch, more racist attacks and barrages, poisoning and infecting the country, which has obviously long been infected by hatred and systemic racism. And of course, the whole DNA of the United States is that way. And even on this level, Donald Trump managed to poison the well, because everything he touches, as Rick Wilson wrote, turns to crap. Everything he touches dies. That's what the title of that book was, by Rick Wilson, he of the Lincoln Project. Nobody will miss Donald Trump except the people who stormed the Capitol 2 weeks ago in a terrorist attack on this country. An attack on you, an attack on me, attack on all of us, an attack on every one of us, an attack on this country at large. This was no riot. This was a very carefully planned, orchestrated, well-financed, tactical operation of terrorism. You had Congress people tweeting out the location of where Speaker Pelosi's office is. You've got congresspersons bringing guns. Come on, folks. Those are the only people, and the racists and the misogynists, those are the people who are going to be missing Donald Trump when he exits stage left. He doesn't have any decency. And why was anybody expecting him to formally concede? He has never, I don't care what people say about a video or about anything else. He was forced, by the way, to make that video last week. He was literally forced. He didn't want to. This guy doesn't mean what he says. He's a liar. You know that. Pathological liar. A malignant narcissist. This guy lied and lied and lied. Oh, the election's stolen. It was never stolen. He was trying to steal it. Twitter finally banned him. I wish they had thought about doing so at least 4 years ago. Facebook is still banning him currently. I hope they make that a permanent ban as well. There cannot be a place for somebody like this in our society with power like this. You have now seen 4 years of where that leads. And if it wasn't for you, and many of you listening, and people you know, who thought it important to get up and vote, and do so in the numbers that I was calling for and many others were calling for, to drown out Donald Trump and make sure that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris would get to the day that they're going to get to tomorrow to be sworn in. Even with all the security concerns that I have, that you have, and I really do hope tomorrow goes off with a hitch. Without a hitch, excuse me. I hope that tomorrow goes off without a hitch. I'm still concerned. But if it wasn't for you, all of you, who voted for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, we would be down an irretrievable road right now. We would be absolutely not only down an irretrievable road, but we would certainly be seeing naked fascism in this country. And this country has long been a fascist country. It's had roots here for a long time. I know people don't want to look at that and people would like to say no, but it's been here for a long time. Donald Trump would have been open about it. And if you think that he would have left after a second term, you're not only mistaken, just look at the last couple of months. That's proof enough that he wouldn't have left after a second term was up. Just look at these last 2 months. These last 2.5 months. This last 6 months. This last 12 months. This guy did not intend to leave. And had he actually won, we really would be in quite a mess in this country. Not that we haven't been before, because we sure have been. Arguably in far worse messes than this. But what I am talking about is the infrastructure of government would have completely been destroyed. And in some ways, he and Mitch McConnell in particular, who I think has done even more lasting damage, would have been the culprits for this. Mitch McConnell has to take a bow. I hope he's happy with the destruction that he has caused to the U.S. Senate and to the way it does business. It will be good to see Chuck Schumer in the next day or two becoming the new Senate Majority Leader. It will be a breath of fresh air. But there is still lots to be done. Same thing with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, who will be making history tomorrow as well as the first female vice president. The first female to be sworn in to that high office. And the first black woman. And the first South Asian woman. This is a proud moment. And I pray for both the safety of Kamala Harris and Joe Biden as the inauguration will be taking place tomorrow. Of course, tomorrow will be devoted to the inauguration on this podcast. I just want to say now to Donald Trump and his family and to the whole administration, good riddance. I look forward to all of these people being prosecuted. And I hope that the Biden Justice Department, Merrick Garland, of course, who leads the department, who soon will, should he be confirmed as Attorney General, and Vanita Gupta and Kristen Clark, and I believe Lisa Cardona. I'm sorry, I forget her last name. That is not her last name. But I just hope that all of them make the decision to go after that administration, which is a criminal enterprise, and go after that Trump family, Ivanka, Jared, all of them, Don Jr., Eric, all of them. They all need to be prosecuted. Donald, everybody, the lot. Thank you very much for listening to this edition of the Politicrat. I'm Omar Moore.